What up, y'all? This is your girl, Coach Nequa T on the beat, and you are tuning in to an episode on the Spacious podcast where healing meets transparency and faith meets mental health. And we are, of course, continuing our series. I was about to say Netflix series. I got jokes. We are about to continue our series, Showing Yourself Grace. All right. So on this episode, we're gonna talk about showing yourself grace in correction. How many of y'all like to be corrected? Raise your hand. Not I. All right. It's not one of my favorite things, I must say. Is it your favorite thing? Okay. Maybe not. Okay, cool. So let's continue. So in this episode, we are talking about showing yourself grace in correction. Being corrected a lot of times is not a favorite thing, but it is a necessary. It is a necessary thing in the process. It's a necessary part in the growing process. It's necessary in the learning process because in order to learn and grow, you have to be corrected. That's the only way we'll be able to improve. But I wanted to talk to you today more so on the side of the feelings and the emotions that comes up when being corrected. So, I want to give some context once again to some different emotions that come up. Let me just say that. I done said that about 5 times, but it's okay. I'm gonna keep it moving. So, um, how feelings of worthiness causes a person to miss the message in correction. And this usually comes from those what I did type of emotions comes up, or you start to feel as if, well, man, I done messed up. That's like the first thing that comes to mind when correction takes place. This is coming from a person that may not like correction or is not the best feeling in the world once again. So shame is something that comes up when those feelings of worthlessness happen when being corrected. Now, once again, I like to use definition, y'all. So the definition of shame talks about a painful emotion caused by consciousness of guilt, shortcoming, or impropriety. Yeah, I like the first part. But it's a painful emotion that comes up because it once again it correlates with that feeling of, oh my goodness, I messed up, what did I do wrong type of feeling. And then usually that shameful feeling, it comes from a place of feeling regretful for what you did, which can onset feelings of pity to come on. So I like to look at shame if I want to give some context or give a visual to it to my visual learners. Shame is like a weather storm. Picture the rain cloud coming in. Do 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 do. Shame is like a rain weather storm. It feels like your heart starts to beat fast, start to beat real fast. Like do 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 do. Face getting hot, beaming like it's 100-degree weather type of heat. Probably not that hot. If you get that hot, please go see a doctor. But your face start getting hot, tunnel vision. You're thinking about how bad of a person you are, and the feeling of wanting to go under a rock and hide starts to onset. Yep, yep, that's what shame. That's what it feels like when you allow the emotion of shame to control you in your thought process. You are blocking out the possible lesson that you could learn. Shutting down is a trauma response. That's what shame does. It leads you down the tunnel of regret, pity, and then boom, shutting down. Shutting down is a trauma response to protect the person from hurting you, or the feelings of hurt to even just overcrowd you, which is a very interesting thing because in the end you still feeling hurt, but it's more so not trying to protect yourself from the person versus the words, which is very interesting. But that is how shame and all those emotions, how they navigate together. And then you have these other feelings that comes in: guilt, pride. All these three feelings encourage a person to distance themselves from others because they feel like they are the problem all the time. They feel like, well, if I'm always the one causing the destruction or just messing up your life, very exaggerative, messing up your life or just bringing out the worst, then I'm just going to remove myself from the situation. And this is not a healthy coping skill at all. It's not a healthy coping skill, especially when you're building relationships with people or even a relationship with yourself. Like you're trying to just escape from the situation instead of facing it. And that is a big life lesson in showing yourself grace and correction. It's not about running away from the situation. It's more so about facing it, but receiving it from a place of, this person don't think I'm the worst person in the world. They're saying this because they do care about me and they want me to let this go or let this character trait go so I don't damage anything or any interactions that I may come into in the future. That's the part of reframing that has to come into context with that. So when a person, they feel like they want to distance themselves and they start to get all these thoughts because they're on the pity train now. They on the pity treadmill at this point, and they just feel like, I'm the worst person in the world. Man, I should escape. I hate my life. All those things, like it creates a space for basically the enemy to and his minions to play on your mind. And even you, it be a whole you versus you type of situation that be happening in the process. And this, my friend, it keeps you in a rotating cycle of going through. Sometimes we go through different scenarios in life where it seems like it's the same situation over and over and over again. But have you really taken the chance to really take a look as to why you keep going through these similar situations but different people? Have you ever taken a moment to reflect, well, why am I keep running into these same type of situations with these same type of people? We always like to look on the opposite end of what the other person has done, but what about looking within yourself? That's the hard pill to swallow. But that is something to take into consideration. Start looking within to see, well, the fact that I'm always playing victim all the time or taking myself down pity party lane or taking myself down shame boulevard, keeping myself in this constant cycle of going on the same map route, well, that gives you your answer. It's time for you to start looking within yourself. And when you keep running from situations and you don't really face it, it's not building on that maturity. It's really building on that immaturity. Because let me tell you something about life, because life be life in a lot of times. Life really been lifing these past couple of years, especially as you become more and more of an adult. I wanted to let you know, and something that I'm even learning for myself is that the pruning and the pricking that comes in correction is not pretty. It's not what you want to hear all the time, but it's necessary to help you mature. Running away and hiding shows character traits of immaturity. Yeah. hmm Character traits of immaturity. And I have to say, I'm one of the people, I'm wise before my time now, and you're probably a person too. You're wise before your time. But when has it been the last time where all the things that you have been learning, you actually applied them to your life? Now that part we'll talk about in another episode, but I want you to ponder on that before we get there. So, with the emotions of shame, guilt, and pride, which is pride is a emotion we talked feeling we talked about in the previous episode. These emotions are like a ripple effect. But now it's about understanding how can you overcome those feelings? How can you overcome them? It starts with courage. Courage is a choice. Courage is a choice of facing your reality. Not what pity tells you, not what shame tells you, not what regret tells you. It's about truly making a choice to face your reality and stop pointing fingers of what the other person did all the time, but really taking a look within you, but from a place of love and grace for yourself. It's like, yeah, I messed up, but this is a learning moment for me. And you may be a very much a good person. Being a good person does not make you excusable from being immature or lacking in being mature. So, compassion, having that sense of compassion for yourself or being around a community of people that embraces who you are, your strengths and your struggles, not just when you all good, but even the parts that are not so great about you, because those that reflect that grace on you, it actually teaches you how to show your own self grace. That's a whole nugget right there. Because in all honesty, we're not placed on this earth to just be by ourselves and alone. Like, God didn't place us on this earth to be that way. He places on this earth to be in relation and connect with other people, because as you build upon relationships with other people, it'll even teach you how to actually start treating yourself. When other people set boundaries with you, you'll be like, hey, hold up, dang, this is different. I may not like it in the beginning, but it teaches you, like, okay, well, maybe I should start having boundaries for me now. What does that look like for me now? Taking time out to actually get to know and understand myself, like, what does that look like for me now? Understanding how to actually move with intentions and understanding what your priorities are. So connection is definitely important. Connecting with the right person and the right at the right time about the right issue. Seek wise counsel. Don't just be telling everybody your business. Not everybody can handle what you go through in life, but it's important to seek wise counsel and connect with people. Vulnerability. That is another one that is important. Whew, opening up that vulnerable side of you is very important. I know for me, I didn't realize it not a couple of months ago, how much I shied away from being vulnerable, because it came from that place of just wanting to be prideful and feeling like I got it all together, knowing it's like, no, you don't have it all together. And it's okay that you don't have it all together. This is where you are in life in the now. But it's going to require you to be vulnerable. That's something that I had to be realistic with myself about. So let me give y'all some scripture reference, another nugget. So in James 5 and 16, it says, therefore, confess your sins to one another and pray for one another that you may be healed. The prayer of a righteous person has a great power as it is working. So when you start to be vulnerable and start to confess where you are in life, or even confessing to your friend or your loved one, like, hey, yeah, I did mess up. I'm really struggling with how to receive this right now. Being honest with where you are, it actually opens the door for you to be connected with the person even more, and you can understand from their point of view as well. Because when you just back down and don't want to be connected with anybody, or feel like you just like the worst person in the world, it creates room for bitterness and resentment. You start resenting people, and we don't want to do that. So, once again, be honest with where you are. That's a part of being vulnerable. Admit what you have done wrong. And then something else about shame that I want to get across to you was that shame loves secrecy. It loves to be in secret, because once again, it likes to hide up under a rock. So those are some signs and signals I want you to pay attention to in those moments where you have been corrected or even being corrected right now. So now, how can you improve or become better if you don't know the areas you need to grow? This is a great question. People that are afraid of growth are afraid of being corrected for their habits and ways of thinking. They are afraid of who they will lose or how life will take its course in the process. They are afraid of reliving their past, but when you continue to bury and not face the truth, you are reliving it every day through your actions, behaviors, and beliefs. So start to think about or reflect on those areas of yourself where you may felt like you felt shameful, you felt guilty, or you felt prideful. You felt like, well, this ain't me, this is who I am. We talked about that in the last episode. When you start feeling like that pride getting puffed up and you big and bad, you better than everybody else. Those are places where you can start to see how you react in different situations of correction, of how it can just manifest through your life. So, showing yourself grace and correction is about being honest, y'all. It's really about being honest to wrap everything up. It's saying, yes, I am imperfect. Sometimes I'm afraid, but that doesn't change the truth that I am also brave, worthy of love and belonging. I am worthy because my Father says I'm worthy. The fact that I have breath in my body says I'm worthy. Now, pieces of this I did quote it from a book. It's a really great book. It talks about your imperfections, all that jazz. I'm gonna make sure I leave it down in the notes, in the description, so y'all can take heed to that book, because it really helps you to understand of how to actually show yourself grace in your imperfections. So y'all, that's all I got for y'all today. And I want y'all to make sure y'all stay tuned, replay this episode, share it with others, and make sure you tune in to the next episode, even previous episodes. We are streaming on all platforms, so make sure you tune in, share with the friends, share with the friends, share with your cousins, aunties, uncles, all of them. Okay? So, and also make sure you stay connected with us on Instagram at Spacious @_Spacious podcast. And as always, y'all, show yourself grace on this life journey, even in correction. That's all for now. And this is a message from your girl, Coach Nequa T. We out.